Avoid this mistake if you want to feel truly rich. Most people think wealth is about having more money, more stuff, more status. But that mindset is exactly what keeps them broke in the one place that matters most, the mind. Because no matter how much you earn or how far you climb, if your peace depends on your paycheck, you're not wealthy, you're trapped. The ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, they knew something we've forgotten. That real wealth doesn't come from what you own, but from how you live. In this video, we're diving into the timeless Stoic principles that can help you build a rich life from the inside out. You'll learn how to redefine success, detach from toxic desires, master your emotions, and create daily habits that make you feel abundant, even without chasing more. So if you're tired of feeling like you're always running and never arriving, stick around. Because this isn't just about getting rich, it's about being free. 1. Redefining wealth. Why true riches begin in the mind. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning without an alarm. Sunlight gently touching your face. No rush, no pressure. You stretch your arms, take a deep breath, and smile, because life feels full. Not because you hit the lottery. Not because your bank account exploded overnight. But because your mind is finally free. Sounds rich, right? In a world that's constantly whispering, no, shouting, that you need more stuff, more status, more zeros on your paycheck, it's easy to believe wealth is a number. We've been trained to measure success by material gain. The bigger the house, the shinier the car, the fancier the vacation, the more successful you must be. But what if real wealth isn't about what's in your pocket, but what's in your mind? This isn't just some poetic fluff. It's the foundation of Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most powerful emperors, wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." And that statement dismantles centuries of conditioning in a single breath. Wealth, to the Stoic, is not defined by accumulation, but by alignment, with reason, virtue, and peace. Let's get real here. How many times have you scrolled past someone on Instagram flaunting luxury and thought, if I had that life, I'd be happy? We've all been there. You might be grinding through long hours, juggling responsibilities, sacrificing sleep just to climb a financial ladder that never seems to end. And even when you hit that next step, it's still not enough. That's because the goalpost keeps moving. And here's the catch. Your mind knows this. Deep inside, it whispers, this isn't it. There has to be more. And that more isn't found in a bonus check or a Black Friday deal. It's found in clarity, detachment, and discipline. Now pause for a moment. Think back to a time in your life when you didn't have much. Maybe it was your college dorm, or your first apartment where you lived off ramen and pizza rolls. Remember the laughter? The moments when you felt alive even though your bank balance was barely surviving? You didn't have a lot, but somehow, life still felt rich. That's because richness isn't about resources, it's about mindset. The conversations, the quiet moments, the sense of freedom and possibility, that was wealth. And you carried it all in your head, not your wallet. So the question becomes, if your mindset can feel rich without material excess, why do we keep tying wealth to stuff? Let this sink in for a second. What if you've been wealthy all along, but just forgot how to feel it? You see, the real revolution isn't in your financial status. It's in redefining what wealth even means. And when that shift happens, when you realize the mind is the vault that holds your richest treasures, everything changes. You stop chasing. You start living. 2. The power of enough, escaping the endless chase for more. If you want to live free, you must define your enough. That simple truth might just be the most powerful financial principle you'll ever hear. Not taught in business school. Not plastered on motivational posters. But when you get it, you're untouchable. Let's be honest. We live in a culture that celebrates excess. Oversized homes. All-you-can-eat buffets. Maxed out calendars. Hustle culture tells us to never stop grinding. Productivity culture tells us we should do more, be more, own more. We're constantly being nudged, subtly and not so subtly, to keep reaching. It's like running on a treadmill that only speeds up the more you chase. But Stoicism says, stop. Ask yourself, when is it enough? Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher and one of the wealthiest men in Rome, famously said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Let that settle in your mind. You might earn $200,000 a year, but if you crave more, fear losing it, and compare yourself to someone making $300,000, you're in poverty of the soul. Now here's where it hits deep. Enough is personal. It's not a universal benchmark. It's a deeply intimate understanding of what satisfies you. And most of us never stop to define it. Have you? Think about it. When was the last time you sat down, not to dream about more, but to define what's sufficient for you? What kind of lifestyle? How much money? What daily rhythm? The truth is, we skip this step. We set goals like, I want to be rich, or, I want financial freedom, but we don't clarify what that actually looks like. And without clarity, the chase never ends. Now, let's rewind for a moment. Remember the first time you got a decent paycheck? Maybe you were 18, 20, or just starting out in your career. That first check felt huge. You could afford things you couldn't before. And for a while, it felt like you made it. But then the bar moved. Your lifestyle inflated. That number, once exciting, now feels standard, expected, maybe even small, because the chase got louder. Because you forgot what enough used to mean. It's like trying to quench your thirst with salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. And here's where it gets interesting. When you define enough, you take back control. You step off the hamster wheel and start living deliberately. You sleep better. You breathe deeper. You stop comparing. You actually enjoy what you already have. So what is your enough? That's not a rhetorical question. Really ask yourself, what would be enough money to live without fear? What kind of home? What kind of workday? What kind of relationships? If you don't define it, someone else will. And odds are, their version of enough will cost you your peace. 3. Voluntary poverty. Building inner strength by living with less. Now here's a concept that might sound extreme at first, but once you understand it, it becomes a tool more valuable than gold. Voluntary poverty. This doesn't mean you give up your house and live under a bridge. It's not about glamorizing struggle. It's about practicing discomfort, living below your means, and choosing simplicity, not because you have to, but because it strengthens you. In the words of Seneca again, set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared? Why would a wealthy Roman philosopher willingly eat poorly and sleep uncomfortably? Because he understood something that most modern millionaires don't. Comfort can make you fragile. But voluntary discomfort, chosen with intention, builds resilience, confidence, and peace. Let's break it down. Think about your life, your routines, your habits, the little conveniences that make your day feel manageable. Your morning coffee, your car, your phone, your streaming subscriptions. We all rely on certain comforts. But how many of them own us? How many of them, if taken away today, would cause panic, not because we need them, but because we've forgotten how to live without them? Practicing voluntary poverty is like giving yourself a fire drill before the actual emergency. It might mean going a week without buying anything non-essential. It might mean cooking at home when you're used to DoorDash. It might mean sleeping on the floor one night just to remember that your bed is a luxury. At first, it feels weird, uncomfortable, even ridiculous. But then something clicks. You realize you're okay. You survive. You adapt. And more importantly, you grow. You stop fearing loss so much because you've experienced it in a controlled way. You realize you're stronger than you thought. And that, my friend, is wealth that no bank account can match. Let's throw it back again. Do you remember your childhood road trips? Gas station snacks, motel rooms, sharing a single bed with a sibling, and wearing the same hoodie 3 days in a row. Somehow, those memories stuck. You laughed. You made do. You felt alive. That wasn't poverty. That was the simplicity of living. Voluntary poverty reconnects you to that simplicity. And here's the kicker. It also makes you appreciate what you have so much more. After a week of plain meals, your next good dinner tastes divine. After living simply, your comforts feel like bonuses, not rights. And as the world grows more complicated, this ancient Stoic practice becomes more valuable. When others panic during inflation, recession, or loss, you stay calm. Because you've been here. You've trained for this. You've voluntarily tasted scarcity and came out stronger. So now the question arises. What could you let go of this week, not forever, just for a little while, to remind yourself of what really matters? How strong could you become if you practiced being content with less? 4. Stoic control. Mastering your desires and financial emotions. Let's talk about something we rarely get taught in school, but deal with every single day. The emotional chaos that money brings. From the anxiety of bills, to the high of a shopping spree, to the shame of debt, to the jealousy of seeing someone else doing better. Money is never just about dollars. It's deeply emotional. And the Stoics? They knew this. They believed that unless you master your desires, you will forever be a slave, even if you're a millionaire. Epictetus put it simply, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And guess what? Your emotional reactions to money, those feelings of fear, craving, insecurity, they lie within your control. That's where Stoicism hands you the power playbook. Because while most people are controlled by money, you can choose to control your response to it. Let's say you get hit with an unexpected expense. Most people react with panic. They feel out of control, like life's attacking them. But the Stoic says, is this in my control? If the answer is no, then panic is wasted energy. And if the answer is yes, then panic still isn't necessary. What's needed is clarity. And that's where most people lose it. They confuse emotion with action. But here's where you can win. Train your emotions like a muscle. When you delay gratification, resisting that impulse purchase, you're building that muscle. When you pause before reacting to financial stress, you're sharpening your mind. And when you look at your desires and say, do I need this, or just want it right now, you're regaining control. And the truth is, most of the stuff we chase isn't even about the item. It's about the feeling, the validation, the illusion of success. But the Stoic doesn't fall for illusions. Now, think back to your younger self. Maybe you didn't earn much, but somehow, you got by. You hustled, you stretched a dollar, you made things work. That resilience? That was emotional control in action, even if you didn't call it that. There's something raw and powerful about being calm while others panic. About staying grounded when others are spiraling. About wanting less, not because you can't afford more, but because you've mastered the art of sufficiency. And here's a curious question to leave you with. What would your financial life look like? Not if you earned more, but if you desired less. How different would your stress, your decisions, your peace of mind be, if you were in control of your emotions, instead of letting your emotions control you? That's not a fantasy. That's Stoicism applied. Blank. Underscore, blank. 5. Detachment from outcomes. Finding peace beyond wealth goals. Now here's a lesson most people never learn until it's too late. You can chase a goal your entire life, reach it, and still feel empty. Let that sink in. So many of us grind for years chasing a dream. Whether it's financial freedom, a business milestone, a six-figure salary. And once we get there, it doesn't feel like we imagined. The high wears off. The peace we expected doesn't show up. Why? Because we were attached to the outcome, not the process. We fell in love with a future scenario, not with daily purpose. And that's where the Stoics offer a lifeline. Detach from the outcome. They didn't mean don't have goals. They meant don't let your identity depend on reaching them. Don't tie your self-worth to something that lives outside your control. Marcus Aurelius said, never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. So whether you hit your goals or miss them, win or lose, rise or fall, you stay calm. Because your inner state wasn't built on shaky outcomes, but solid character. This isn't passive acceptance. It's powerful presence. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. Every step is hard. You push, sweat, slip, get back up. And finally, you reach the top. The view is stunning, but it lasts 5 minutes. Then clouds roll in. You're cold. You're tired. And now, it's time to go back down. Was the entire journey about those 5 minutes? Or was it about everything you became on the way up? Life is like that. The promotion, the car, the house, those are peaks. But they come and go. What stays is how you grew while climbing. And when you detach from the outcome, something amazing happens. You become more focused. More peaceful. You stop stressing about if things will work out, and start showing up fully in the moment. That's rare. That's powerful. That's Stoic wealth. Let's throw it back for a second. Do you remember setting a goal in your early years? Maybe you thought, if I just land that job, get that degree, move to that city, I'll be set. And maybe you got there. Maybe it felt great, for a while. But then what? A new craving, a new goal, a new chase. That's the trap of outcome addiction. But now imagine approaching goals differently, not clinging to them, but moving toward them with calm curiosity. Like a traveler, not a prisoner. So here's a question to chew on. What are you chasing right now? And is your peace dependent on getting it? And if it is, who really has the control, you or the goal? 6. Gratitude and generosity. The real currency of a rich life. You want to feel rich today? Try this. List 5 things you'd miss if they vanished tomorrow. Not big stuff. Small things. The way your coffee smells in the morning. The voice of someone you love. The warmth of your bed. The comfort of silence. The rhythm of a familiar routine. That list right there? That's wealth. Deep, invisible, untaxed wealth. The Stoics understood this long before it became a trend. They practiced gratitude not as a feel-good exercise, but as a weapon against dissatisfaction. Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Gratitude flips the script. It reminds you that you're not lacking, you're surrounded by quiet abundance. And generosity? That's the second half of the equation. When you give, your time, your attention, your energy, you multiply your wealth. Because the richest people aren't the ones who hoard, but the ones who have enough to share. Let's be honest. The world teaches us to hold tight. Stack cash. Secure the bag. Build your empire. And yes, being smart with money matters. But if you never feel rich enough to give, you'll never feel rich enough to live. Giving rewires the brain. It shifts the focus from me to we. And suddenly, your problems feel lighter. Your blessings feel bigger. And here's the twist. The more grateful and generous you become, the more attractive your energy becomes. People trust you more. Opportunities open up, not because of some magic trick, but because you're living in abundance instead of scarcity. Now pause. Think back to a moment when someone showed up for you. Maybe they helped you when you were broke. Maybe they gave advice that changed everything. Maybe they just listened. That moment stuck with you, because someone gave freely. That was real wealth in action. So what if you became that person? What if, instead of just chasing wealth, you embodied it, through presence, through appreciation, through giving? Here's your reflection point. What if the wealth you're working so hard to get is already in your hands? What if the richest version of you isn't the one with the biggest bank account, but the one who wakes up thankful, and gives without fear? 7. Stoic habits for daily wealth. Practicing simplicity, reflection, and purpose. What if wealth wasn't built in giant leaps, but in tiny, quiet habits? Not in windfalls, but in whispers. Not in lottery wins, but in how you carry yourself on a random Tuesday morning. The Stoics believed that wealth wasn't something you stumbled upon, it was something you practiced. And the best part? You don't need to be born into privilege, or be a stock market genius, or own a business empire to live like a Stoic millionaire. You just need discipline, and a few daily habits. Let's walk through them. 1. Simplicity. Start by stripping the excess. Simplify your environment, your spending, your routines. Don't overcomplicate your meals. Don't chase every new gadget. Keep your space clean. Choose what's essential and release what's not. Because here's a powerful truth. The more you need, the poorer you feel. But when you live simply, your mind becomes spacious. You're not managing clutter, you're managing your peace. 2. Daily reflection. Marcus Aurelius journaled every day. He didn't do it for followers or quotes, he did it to remind himself who he wanted to be. You can do the same. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what did I spend money on? What did I desire today, and was it necessary? Where did I act from emotion, and where did I act from reason? What do I already have that I've forgotten to appreciate? That's not just journaling, that's mental wealth building. You're auditing your inner life the same way someone would audit their finances. 3. Purposeful action. The Stoics taught that every action should align with your values. So before you spend, before you commit, before you react, ask, is this aligned with who I want to be? Not, can I afford this? But, does this serve my purpose? Because real wealth isn't just about managing money, it's about managing meaning. When your days are filled with intentional action, you build a life that feels full, not just busy. Now let's time travel for a second. Go back to your childhood mornings. Maybe watching cartoons on a beat-up couch, eating cereal, totally unaware of bills, inflation, or the economy. That version of you wasn't wealthy by any financial standard, but you were alive. Present, unbothered. There's something sacred in that simplicity. And maybe adulthood has layered your life with responsibilities, pressure, comparison. But at the core, that child still lives in you. Craving stillness, craving connection, craving purpose over possessions. Daily Stoic habits bring you back to that essence. They aren't about being rigid or cold. They're about building a rhythm that protects your energy. They help you move through life like a lighthouse, not a flickering candle. So here's where the curiosity begins. What if, for the next 7 days, you lived like a Stoic? You bought only what was necessary. You wrote down your thoughts each night. You started each morning with silence and intention. You measured success by alignment, not applause. What would change? How would you feel? Because at the end of the day, the richest life isn't lived by the person with the most, but by the person who needs the least, gives the most, and wakes up knowing exactly who they are. And that is Stoic wealth. If you've made it this far, you're not like most people. You're part of that rare 0.01% who actually stick it out to the end, who don't just consume wisdom, but apply it. Drop a full score in the comments if you're one of the few who finish what they start, because that already sets you apart from the rest. If you're serious about leveling up your mindset, your finances, and your life with ancient wisdom that still hits hard today, then don't just leave. Hit that subscribe button. Join our tribe. This journey toward real, grounded, peaceful wealth is just beginning, and we're doing it the Stoic way.